because I think there's a lot of depth and meaning what's going on in Psalm 23. So let me read, and if you haven't been with us, we've gone through all of this. This is all on our website, and you can go listen to those later. But the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. So we've kind of made it here, the midway point of the year, kind of, July 1st it is, and we're going to be at the midway point of Psalm 23 today. And up to this point, I just kind of want you to see this as the sheep talking to some other sheep who have a different owner. It's kind of what's been happening. So there's sheep, and they're kind of talking across the road to another group of sheep, and they're kind of in their own little ranch, and these sheep are in their ranch, and they're like, hey, what's your owner like? And they're like, I'll tell you about our owner. Our owner's awesome. And they start telling the other sheep about their owner, and they listen to it. Hey, let me tell you guys, my shepherd, the Lord, I shall not want. My shepherd's awesome. And I don't even think this is much of a competition thing as much as just they're so excited about how great their shepherd is. My shepherd, I get to go lie down in green pastures. Like he sets it all up. So we all have green pastures. Me, my family, all my friends. We go to still waters. Everything's great over here in this ranch. We go to still waters and we can get what we need. So much so that he restores my soul. Now I can see the sheep on the other side going, restores my soul. This is pretty deep for just sheep talking, but okay, I'm hearing you. He restores my soul. That's how amazing my shepherd is. He guides me along the right paths. For his name's sake. Quite beautiful to realize from the sheep's perspective, that's really from our perspective, how the good shepherd, what we learn about Jesus in John 10, he calls himself the good shepherd, takes care of us. But there is this huge shift for the rest of Psalm 23. It goes from the sheep looking across the road to the other ranch and going, my shepherd's awesome, to them coming back into their ranch, looking up at their shepherd and talking directly to him. It's like they've stopped kind of just telling everybody else how great things are. They now want to talk to the good shepherd himself. And it is here that this psalm becomes extremely intimate with deep affection. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. So we're not talking out into the world. We're not talking to other people. We're talking right to God. In fact, today I would have you think about you and the Lord and what it looks like to talk to God. Because I love that David goes from quiet streams, green pastures, paths of righteousness, to I walk through the valley of the shadow of death in one sentence. Because there is an invitation for you and me here today. How do I let the Lord guide me as the good shepherd? It means that as seasons of my life change, my faith somehow remains. And that's a hard thing, isn't it? I mean, to me, that's a really hard thing in a reality of a life that is mixed with beauty and pain. There's nobody in here, if I said, let's just split the room down the middle. The half of you who get all beauty in your life, you come over here. And the half of you that have to have all the pain in life, you come over here. You wouldn't know where to go. Maybe today you're on the beauty side. You're like, yeah, things are awesome. Maybe today you're on the pain side. And maybe next week you'd switch. Because that's life. That's seasons. Mixed with beauty and pain, trial and victory, joy and sorrow. And it's a hard thing to say that in every season, God, I will follow you in both the joy and the pain. I'll walk alongside you through it all. David, the shepherd in the Middle East, would have to take the sheep through a lot of things, including canyons. And these canyons would have been carved out by flash floods that would come through the region. And over the course of many years, these canyons would grow deeper and deeper and deeper as the floods just fast came through and came through and came through. If you've ever seen some of the slot canyons that are in Utah and places like that, you kind of get the idea. Out of nowhere, there's these deep canyons. And when you go research some of the canyons that are in the Middle Eastern region during this time, what you find is you have canyons that are about 5 miles long. I mean, they just stretch. And they go anywhere from about 3 feet wide to maximum 15 to 20 feet wide. You can barely even see up when you're in the canyon. You're just walking through it. So as a shepherd leading his sheep through this dark, deep valley, here's what David has in mind as the good shepherd. David is thinking, wow, I always have to be on guard because I'm taking the sheep through all of this stuff. And I have to always be on guard because a storm may come at any time, a flash flood, and come and wipe us all out. I have to keep an eye on the weather, keep an eye on kind of how the sheep are handling the weather. There's a bandit that might come and steal some of my sheep that I can't see as we're going around all the bends. There might be a thief that just comes and destroys and decimates. And in a place where you can't go anywhere and you can't even turn around. There's some seasons that we understand that feeling. There's some seasons in life where you are going through a canyon like that, the deepest of valleys, and everything feels so tight that you're not sure where to go, and even if you could turn around, where would you go then? I don't have any options, we might say to ourselves. I don't know what to do. The pain is pressing in, the sorrow is hard. How do I endure this? Where are you at, God? I don't actually see how you're present in this. I mean, I feel kind of stuck. And this is 5 miles long. So what do we do? David does not seem to have a problem with this. It's not as if David comes in and goes, let me give you a theological understanding of this. That's kind of what we do as post-Enlightenment people. I always say people love to read the Bible in a kind of post-Enlightenment age, but it's a pre-Enlightenment book, meaning they didn't care about 99% of the things we seem to care about when it comes to reading the Bible. That's where people get in all these arguments, and I hear pastors all the time having to kind of explain things as best they can, because like a bunch of post-Enlightenment people who are kind of putting the scientific method to everything they think through. David doesn't care. David's like, I'm talking about sheep, people. Stop. Just get into the story. You're in the valley. It's dark. You may feel alone. You may wonder where God is. And that's okay. And I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of understanding of it and make sure you figure it all out. That is just the truth of how life works sometimes. And he says, this is seeing the world clearly. Because yes, sometimes you are lying in green pastures and you feel fed and protected and you feel good about life. And we all want that. I talked about it last week. We want comfort. I personally go towards comfort as often as I can. But as I said last week, there's no growth in comfort. You will not grow if you just try to be comfortable and entertain yourself all the time. You have to push yourself in the difficult times. And if you're not in one now, there's one coming. Because that's part of what life is. And that's what David is just kind of presupposing we all would understand. That in the next moment, you might be in the deepest, darkest valley, and he has no problem that God is present in both situations. God is as present when you're in the comfort as he is when you're in the struggle. In fact, later in Psalm 34, David says it like this: the Lord is near to the brokenhearted, saves the crushed in spirit. If I had time, I'd go further with Psalm 34. There's so much beauty in that psalm as well. I'm going to encourage you to read that after service. If you don't have a Bible, by the way, we always have Bibles that are free. They sit in the back there by the Connect table. You just grab one of those, take it home, put your name in it, it's yours. You obviously can look this up on your phone or whatever, but I sometimes encourage people, have a Bible, look at the Bible, read the Bible. Read Psalm 34. Let these words kind of fill you. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, saves the crushed in spirit. When you are in the deepest, darkest slot canyon, nowhere to turn, God is there. As if to say that maybe it is in these moments, in these deep, dark valleys, in this shadow of death, that God is the closest even. That God wants to be the most present during those times. God is actually the most available to you during those times. And it might be that in those moments, I might be most in tune to the fact that at that time, all I can say is, God, you better be out front guiding, because I don't know where I'm going here. I've kind of lost the plot a little bit. I'm scared. I hope you can navigate some things here, because I'm not sure who else can. That if you and I are going to walk with the Good Shepherd, even as seasons change, this is how our faith remains. It's that the perspective we're going to have and hold, that we are aware that the life we live, the world we live in, that this pain is simply inevitable, but there is a good God guiding us, and you'll see it up there when we were looking at Psalm 23, through the valley of shadow of death. Not sit in it, not never leave it, but grow in it. Learn. If that's the perspective we're going to have and hold, I think it changes us. As I said, we could go around this room this morning and tell story upon story of, yeah, I've been there. Yep. I've walked through a difficult time. Some of you might even go, I'm not sure how I made it, but now I look back and I can see how dark that canyon was and that valley was, and somehow I came through it. I even figured some things out. I figured out God a little more. I figured out myself a little more. I figured out other people a little more. It's as if this verse wants us to consider the deep, dark valleys of life, how our faith can handle the pain. I'll read it again. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. It's customary to use this verse as a consolation to those who are passing from this life to the next. I think it's very valuable. I've used this verse many times as I've sat with people taking their last breaths. I've used this verse many times at funerals, laying people to rest. But it is actually a verse of undeniable hope. My dad, who isn't here today, but usually is, some of you know him, he's battling Parkinson's, has for quite a long time. He was getting into the car last week after our baptism ceremony. Now, this was a big day for Dad. He came to church, and then he went to the baptism ceremony. That's like a week's worth of activity for him, all just like stuffed into a few hours. It was a lot. And I was, kind of excited. I was like, man, how cool it was to baptize those 11 kids. He's getting into the car. He's actually quite impressive with his disease, because what he tries to do is just do everything on his own. I mean, it just makes me so happy. It's exactly how he raised me as a child. Like, literally, he was always like, you can figure it out on your own. I'm not going to help you. And I'm so thankful for that, honestly. Like I've told you, I would walk by, and he would just trip me on purpose, so I'd have to yeah, you're right. Pain does happen, Dad. Thank you. So now I do it to him. No, I don't do it to him. I'm like, oops. But it's pretty impressive to watch him, because he wants to do everything on his own. And it's hard. Some of it's really hard. And if you've ever been in a situation like that where you kind of want to help the person, but you know they want to do it on their own and it's good for them, and you go, So it's kind of cool to watch him do that, especially knowing how great his brain is. He's still quick, and he says things fast. He makes his same little witty jokes. I mean, he can think through things. I was hanging a TV for him, and he was like, did you check this, and did you do this? And he's saying all this as he's just kind of lying there in his bed. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool. But last week, he was kind of at the end of himself. He really was. He was tired. He was trying to get into his car. And I know it didn't take 10 minutes, but it seemed like it took 10 minutes just for him to sit down and get into his car. And he kept over and over trying to lift his legs up, and he just couldn't do it. And I could see he was kind of upset about it, because that's something he wants to be able to do. And he finally looked at me, just for time's sake, and he said, hey, can you get my legs in? And I said, yeah. So I grabbed his legs, and I put them into the car, and gave him a hug, and he was in. And we both kind of laughed, and then he let out a little sigh, because my dad has a great humor about this stuff. And he looked at me and goes, I don't deserve this body. And I'm like, yeah, your mind is sharp. You don't really deserve this body, and I know you make jokes and you talk easily. But his body puts him in the valley of the shadow of death. I mean, he is right in the valley of the shadow of death. And so as I put his legs in and he said that and we were just kind of smiling, I just quoted Revelation to him. I just said, well, don't forget, Dad. Jesus will wipe away every tear from your eyes. There'll be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. I said, isn't that cool, Dad? You're going to get a new body. Things are going to be better. There's hope. Even though you're in the shadow of death, even though you're sitting in the Friday of life, as we think of Good Friday and Christ's death, the resurrection Sunday is coming. And it's actually one of the beautiful things about watching my own father go through the literal shadow of death. I think I've been most encouraged about my own faith, my own fears while watching him, because he lives in hope in the midst of sorrow and pain. And by the way, if you don't think you're living in the shadow of death, you may have missed something about how the world works. We're all living in the shadow of death. We're all in broken bodies in a broken world, and it's not going to stop. And I want to be like my own father and face these things head on with hope. Because the next part of the passage, I think, becomes inevitable when we deal with these valleys well. I will fear no evil. Another place it says this, another translation, I will fear nothing. I just don't fear anything. Why would I fear? I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, are you afraid of dying? He's like, it'll be fine. I'll miss your mom. I'll miss you. But it'll be fine. I mean, I think about how much fear overwhelms so many people in their daily life, as well as how people think about the future, filled with fear. And if we live our life in fear, then we live our life haphazardly, because we're haphazardly trying to figure out things with the backdrop of dread and doom and despair behind us. That's not a fun way to live. We start to fear what's on the horizon. We fear the next valley we're going to go through. We fear what's in back of us. We fear what our past has done. We fear our present. We fear the future. We fear. Fear. And automatically, when we make decisions based on fear, we unplug ourselves from the source of power, God, that we're supposed to be connected to. Fear just starts to disconnect us from God. If you ever wonder just for a second, why do I look back over the last year or 10 years or whatever, and I'm not making the best decisions all the time? Relationally, maybe you say something, you go, ooh, I just looked at that person's reaction. Maybe I shouldn't have said it like that. Financially, spiritually, emotionally. Think how much fear is unplugging you from the power of God in your life. Because God says, fear is not my spirit of work. It's not my presence at work in you. But if you live as if God is alongside you in every moment, including in the valley, you would have nothing to fear. I also would like you to take a moment and consider those sheep. The shepherd has taken them into that dark valley. They're walking through it. It's dark. It can be a little scary, like life. And when the shepherd takes the sheep around the bends in the mountain and through those very narrow valleys, there are whole minutes and even hours where they cannot see the shepherd in front of them. Sometimes for the whole 2, 3, 4, 5 miles. But they follow. They keep following. Where else are they going to go? What else are they going to do? Where else are you really going to go? What else are you going to do? You follow. Why? Because they believe, they have faith. And I think about this in my own life. The times I'm not sure that God is there in the valley. Is God there in the dark times? And then I eventually come around the bend. And I realize He's guiding me all along. I didn't really have anything to be fearful of. In fact, I start to look back and go, wow, I kind of grew through that season of life. A lot. And I go back to the beginning, I go, man, I was freaked out. And then I go through it, and I come to the end and I go, oh, I didn't need to be. He's with me. If we're not careful, we may lose the good shepherd, but I will tell you, He will never lose sight of you. Because if at some point my panic and my fear and my misgivings would be reminded that there's a God who loves me and is caring for me, I start to get a calm and a quiet confidence in the next valley that comes. If I go through these things multiple times, the experience starts to buttress me, and I start to go, oh, here's coming another valley. This is going to be tough. I can do this. Let's go, God. And just a side note, it's during these times that if you will take that experience seriously, if you will open yourself to the tough times, to grow, not in the comfortable places, because you won't, but you grow in the times that are difficult, here's what's going to happen. The next time you come up to a valley, you are going to look down and you're going to go, oh, there is another person and about to go into a valley too, or they're right in the middle of the valley. And you're going to feel a sense of intimacy with that person because you know what it's like. And you may even see fear in their eyes, and you're going to have no judgment. You're going to go to them and you're going to go, hey, I can help you. It's going to be okay, I know. I'm just going to be a sheep right alongside you. And there's a good God. There's a guide. The good shepherd, and we're going to follow him together. And it's amazing how much you become a blessing instinctively to other people when you go through the hard things of life. David is inviting us to stamp our faith into something very real. Not to stamp our faith in the world around us. I said this at the beginning, not to stamp our faith in trying to figure out the Bible, figure out God, figure out theology. Exhausting. Stamp our faith in what real life is about, which is walking through it with God. Because the pain is inevitable, but the perseverance with God's presence is essential. His love, His joy, His power, it overcomes. His resurrection transforms everything, and it is available in every situation, including the one you're in right now. So as I close, I say, do you need to be reminded today that as you wind through the valley, that God is with you? If you do, I'm saying it, but I would ask you to ask God to remind you, to give you courage, to give you hope. Because your life, like mine, is probably a mixture of that same pain and joy, a mixture of beauty and chaos, a mixture of, hey, God, where are you? And God, I know you're here. And David urges you and I to constantly remind ourselves, God has never once left you. He sees where you're at. He loves you deeply. You are His own. As Josh comes and we take the Eucharist together, I want to put that last little phrase up there. You are with me. I'd just like you to sit with that phrase for a moment. Just kind of hold to it. Think about what it means for you. maybe in whatever space you're in, maybe that's your prayer here for a moment. Just say that to God. And maybe you have some doubt with your belief as you say it. Say it anyway. It's fine. You are with me. Every Sunday morning, we close our service with a very simple reminder. It's one of my favorite things about the journey. I remember starting this church, and I said, the goal of the journey is that we are journeying towards God. We're not about the destination. We're about this journey together. And I remember saying, I do not want the end game of our church service to be the sermon. Let's barely even call it a sermon. Let's call it a teaching. The end game of our service together, of our time together, is to go to the communion table. It's Christ and taking Christ out in the world with us. That's what matters. And so every single Sunday we do this because we are reminded that Jesus was in the shadow of his own death throughout his ministry. All he did was live in the shadow of death. That's all he knew. The table is this reminder that Jesus understands. He gets you. But it is also the hope of the resurrection there. We take the bread, honoring Christ's body broken. We dip it into the wine or the juice, honoring Christ's blood that was spilled. And we take that death, that valley of the shadow of death, and we bring it into our resurrected bodies, our alive bodies, to take Christ into the world. So the question I encourage you to wrestle with at the table is not whether you have many or few valleys. It's not even whether your valleys are dark or merely dim with shadows. The question today is, how will you react to your valleys alongside God? How will you go through them? How will you cope with the calamities that come your way? And my encouragement is, with the Lord's grace and the Spirit of God as my guide, I face the valleys fearlessly, courageously. So when you're ready, go and respond at the table today. Take your time there. Take your time in your seat. You're in no hurry. Go and respond to what God is doing in your life. Guests, if you're new to the journey or it's your first time here, I want to invite you to come and be a part of the Eucharist with us each week. You are welcome at the table with us. For many, it is a part of their relationship with God, trying to figure some things out, and we want to join with you and let you know today you're part of community with us. We're glad you're here. As we go to the table, if you'll pray with me. God, we join together with each other this morning and really every morning, and God, we declare you are good. And in declaring your goodness, there are some of us that are joining today in the valley, deep in the valley. I pray for those people, God. I lift my hands to those people because they need comfort right now. And so, God, I just ask you to come and comfort them, give them courage in their fear, in their heartache, in their grief. Let them know they are loved and that they are still guided. Some of us, we've come in here today and we've joined on the mountaintop. We're filled with joy and happiness, but God, we know the valley. And so let us, if we're on the mountaintop, be reminded to praise you while we also comfort others. And we come to that table today, God. We come to your table, some in joy, some in pain, some in beauty, some in sorrow, but all of us together. And we come to the table and we say, you are the good shepherd. And so in the valley of the shadow of death, God, may we collectively fear no evil and know you are with us. We love you. It's the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. The tables are open.